There is no beginning to this story. Instead, there is a little girl sitting on a flower print couch, reading a book. In this book, there is a beginning and a middle and an end, but in the logical progression of things, she loses her place in the world and instead, she finds her place in the words. And these words, they find their place on her shoulder, brushed up against the crook of her neck, all rough and trembling at the edges, but filled to the brim of their ink-back, sharp black edges with sweet, sweet nothings. But you see, the girl is still too young and too gentle to prick her fingers on the nettles of creation. So the words simply rest on her shoulder and curl in her hair, cooing, patience, patience. She has no choice then, but to wait, breath lingering over flashes of inspiration, mouth forming around curves of phrases that she tucks, for safekeeping, in the back pockets of her mind. In the meantime, she continues to read the books with a beginning and a middle and an end, and everything else in between. There is no beginning to this story. There is no beginning because the soul grows from naught but a crackling spark of life, life and love, climbing the ladder of becoming step by trembling step. There is no beginning because the soul builds cities from the rubbles of past wars, palaces over the tight skin of closed scars, painstakingly, heartbreakingly, eventually, giving way to the gentle beat of your heart. For the heart is, after all, where everything begins and ends, where everything pumps in cyclic motion, a tapestry of in, out, your chest burning, your throat closing, your mind plummeting through the folds of souls wrapped around the split nail of your pinky finger. There is no beginning to the story. The girl extends a curious hand towards the words bleeding midnight black over her shoulders. They slip down her bare arm and gather around the tip of her pencil, like a pool of mud, of sludge. But even the ideas they murmur into her consciousness are heavy with the burden of straining to be everything all at once. Everything, because she has collected so many words over so many years, stuffed from the bursting in the lining of her pockets, the hollows of her sleeves, the dips of her collar, the shallows of her eaves. Everything because with the words she hoards, she spins threads of stories, gathering purple-black silk that slides over her thighs and piles at her feet into ink-sparked, pencil-marked hands in a futile attempt to make something out of nothing. Everything because, after all, to encompass everything is to place herself right in the crater of existence, tracing the jagged edges with the soles of her little feet and combing the dust with her little fingers and setting her little shoulders against the breadth of the sky as if they could hold the weight of the world, like Atlas standing at the edge of the earth. It seems that there is not enough room for everything on the canvas of her heart. There is no beginning to this story, but you see, there does not need to be a beginning to this story. For what is a beginning other than a plague to dust off and say, here's where I came from, but where I came from is not important because here's where I will go. What is a beginning but a means to an end, a dream to be bent, a scheme to be rendered completely, exquisitely, absolutely unrecognizable? Here then is the beginning to this story. There is a little girl sitting on a flower print couch, reading a book. In this book, there is no beginning, no middle, no end. In this book, there is nothing between the lily-white pages of a dizzy bright cage, sleek and open and ripe for the taking. When the girl opens her empty book, she pauses, considering the way the smooth green paper slides underneath her fingertips. The words no longer drip puddles around the pin-sharp point of her pencil, no longer stain her skin with the skeletons of things she'll never be, no longer whisper promises of eternity in her ears. In big, sweeping letters, she writes, "There is no beginning to this story."
That beautifully. It was gorgeous. I truly love all of the imagery that you go to. There is no beginning to this story, and then you go to the girl's experience with language, and then you keep coming back to it and coming back to it in a highly sophisticated poem. Okay, but I'll shut up. Responses, people. Alex. Or I won't even say, just go.
I thought that was amazing. I mean, the way you described it, like the parts where the words no longer stain her, like, they don't no longer stain her skin of what she can't be or what she could be. I mean, the imagery was really good and the story was really nice. I liked how it's like talking about like it starts out simple, like the girl's just reading a book, and then you start delving into like life and how like there really is no beginning or middle or end. It's just like stuff happens. I thought that was really cool.
So, as someone who's watched you like practice performing it in the past, and seen like it kind of, I really thought that this time when you performed, it was a lot more powerful, and maybe it was because you were on stage, but your gestures were all on point, your voice raisings and lowering were all on point, and another thing I really like is when you say, it doesn't matter where I came from, but where I will go. I thought that was like such a good one, and I just think you did so much.
I really like the skeleton line. I forgot what you said, but that stuck with me. I'm like, I feel like as you told it, because you're a really good storyteller, like the way you phrased everything and kind of like set everything up was like done so wonderfully. Yeah, it was great.
Okay, Caroline, I could not have asked for a better person to lead this off. Thank you so much.